Good morning. Welcome to Extinction Rebellion in Botanic Park, beautiful Adelaide. We're here to hold a very, very sombre morning procession. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that we are on stolen Kaurna land. The traditional owners of this land are the Kaurna people, and pay respect to their leaders, past, present and emerging. We're being joined by the Red Rebels. Our action this morning is starting, as I said, in beautiful Botanic Park with these magnificent fig trees, and we are about to have a tree watering ceremony. Welcome Nancy and welcome Christine. Thanks for tuning in. Lots will be happening today, and I will help point out a few of the important facts that we are trying to highlight. Letting some lovely bicycles go by. One of the things that is very important today is we have chosen Father's Day to hold our morning procession. Lots of dads out today, great big family day, fabulous family location, but it is also a time where many fathers around the whole world are absolutely wondering what the future will be for their children, what is going to become of the earth for their children, their grandchildren, what is going to happen. It is a very sombre day, Father's Day.
Good afternoon. Extinction Rebellion SA has some history in this place. The beautiful Botanic Garden. In March, we gathered here before taking civil disobedience in the form of a mobile disco to the streets of the CBD. More recently, we staged an intervention with guerrilla projections during Adelaide's inaugural Illuminate Festival. We're back here again today because of a shocking fact that was new to me in March, and I suspect to many others as well, that the gardens and the one-of-a-kind Museum of Economic Botany that is its beating heart carry the name and money of Santos, one of Australia's largest fossil fuel companies. I must have seen the name above the museum countless times, but never really taken it in. Surely this place, a haven of life and peace in the middle of the city, could not be funded by a company hell-bent on destroying the natural world for profit. In the souvenir book published in 2010 to commemorate the museum's restoration, then director of the Botanic Gardens, Stephen Forbes, wrote that the central message of Museums of Economic Botany is a powerful one that deserves close attention today. The link between the management of scarce resources, plants, and people inherent in the term economic botany resonates deeply with a contemporary sustainability agenda. And yet, in a blatant act of greenwashing, Santos were allowed to buy naming rights to the museum and reap the rewards of fraudulent corporate responsibility. The MEB, the last Museum of Economic Botany in the world, and a jewel of international renown, does not belong to a corporation. It belongs to us. We call on the gardens and the museum to take down the name of Santos and to commit to never again entering into a partnership with a fossil fuel company. Such arrangements, which amount to no more than greenwashing, are unacceptable at such a critical juncture in the climate crisis and go against both the spirit and the letter of the Botanic Garden's own charter. It was a mismatch when the agreement was signed in 2008. It is even more so today when the IPCC has declared that we are facing code red for humanity. The fact is, the worldwide movement for full divestment from fossil fuels is gaining traction every single day. It's now the fastest growing divestment movement in history. The rapacious greed and denial of fossil fuel companies like Santos is simply incompatible with any organisation that has at its heart the values of sustainability, preservation, and the harmonious coexistence of humans and the natural world. Back in May, the Federal Court found that we owe our children a duty of care, but we also have a duty to care. In about 3 months' time, all things going well, I'll become a father for the first time. For the first years of their life, at least, their well-being will dominate every waking moment of my life. To do otherwise would, of course, be a moral and criminal outrage. Yet that is precisely what this government is seeking to do in challenging the Federal Court's ruling that Environment Minister Susan Lee owes a duty of care to Australia's young people, to not cause them physical harm in the form of personal injury from climate change. As we gather here on Father's Day, I can't help but think of what sort of future awaits my child if people like Lee get their way. We all know what the models say. We all know why, decades after the fossil fuel companies became aware of climate change, we are still turning up today to try to stop them and the governments they have captured from locking in an unlivable planet for our children and our children's children to inherit. The ice melt, the sea level rises, the unprecedented temperatures and extreme weather events. These are the things that keep me up at night. Who are the leaders of our governments and corporations to pass them on to the next generation and the one after that? To paraphrase the words of another young person, how dare they? Today, as well as being Father's Day, also marks the first weekend of spring, time of rebirth and renewal, of love, of hope, of youth, and of growth. In this spirit, I would now like to call upon Patrick Frost, one of our rebels here today, to present a new tree to the Botanic Gardens. With this tree and its watering, we signify that fossil fuel money is blood money, and that companies like Santos, while they continue to invest in unsustainable resources, are enemies of life, born and as yet unborn.
Well, hope Botanic Gardens takes good care of their new tree, because it is a money tree. In his speech just now, Ben has talked about the Museum of Economic Botany, which has naming rights. Santos has the naming rights for that. And he mentioned that 2008 was when this agreement happened. Well, a little bit of background to that. In 2007, the state government, the then ran state government, had an agreement with Santos. Santos is a South Australian company, and at the time I think they were a little frustrated about the cap on shareholders, or capping on shares held by people. So the state government was also in a bind because of a bit of an economic crisis, 2007, 2008. And so the state government and Santos developed a deed of an agreement, a deed of undertaking, whereby
Okay, rebels.
I will
We're
fill
going
you
to
in
head
a
across
minute.
now to the second part of the section at the Ginkgo Gate. Or a bit of a way behind the red rebels. The two banners over here will be at the front.
We're about to move through to the Botanic Gardens with the Red Rebels, but I'll carry on with my little story about Santos. So back in 2007, this deed of undertaking was signed up to by Santos with the state government, and in that deed the state government agreed to remove caps on shareholding, and Santos in return agreed that they will keep jobs in South Australia. Mind you, it's not that many, but most of their efforts are in other states, but they'll keep jobs in South Australia. And they will also set up a community funding program, community event, community development funding program. And as part of that funding program, it was $60 million over 10 years that Santos would, quote, give away. But to their benefit, they could now go gangbusters expanding the business and come into the massive conglomerate company, fossil fuel company they are now. So do not be fooled. Santos is not a wonderful philanthropic organisation looking at their triple bottom line and being wonderfully generous with their money. It has been legislated. That deed of undertaking then passed into legislation in 2007. So there is an act to which Santos, just specially for Santos, that they have to fulfill this deed. So not out of the goodness of their heart. It is a fantastic mechanism for Santos to undertake mass greenwashing. So when you see Santos Tour Down Under, when you see Santos Museum in the Botanic Gardens, which they gave $2 million towards the restoration of the building, a very important, unique building, they are legislated to do it. They have to report to the Premier every year on what they've done. So not many people know that. Very simple Google search will find you that information. We're now moving along the outside railing of the Botanic Gardens and to join up with the Red Rebels, and we will be entering the Botanic Gardens themselves to continue with our bit of a roadblock here, to continue with our morning procession through the gardens. So beautiful sunny day coming out today. A bit difficult because of the sun to see everything. But yes, happy Father's Day to all fathers out there. all responsible fathers, and enjoy time with your families, because we don't know how long it's going to last. Reject Santos. Got lots of... Oh, can't see that in the sun. We have a very strong support presence from the South Australian Police. In fact, it's extraordinarily large today for a very simple activity. Of watering a tree and having a little stroll through the Botanic Gardens. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
You able to walk and talk?
Yeah, and hold flags. Yeah.
And hold flags and banners and walk and talk. Sarah is multitasking here in a magnificent way. So, hi, Sarah.
Hi, morning.
So, what's all this mean for you?
I think we are still sending Santos a message about their greenwashing. We know that the Botanic Garden is funding the Botanic Gardens and the museum, and we don't think that the public, we see this as rather a contradiction in terms of the aim of the Botanic Gardens, and probably the public are unaware of the level and how Santos goes about greenwashing. So for me it's really important to keep the message going, to keep telling Santos we're watching them, and I guess ultimately to try and stop some of the fossil fuel projects that Santos continues.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, Santos, we are watching you. Oops, my camera work's getting a bit ropey here. Walking backwards and talking and trying to film. Not a good combination. Right, let's see what's going on down here. We can see the procession coming of beautiful posters painted code red. We'll talk about code red in a minute. Reject Santos. I think we constantly reiterating reject Santos and their wonderful benevolent fund, which ain't so benevolent. Sarah mentioned the greenwashing again. A lot of people don't realise at the moment. I've noticed been lucky enough in South Australia here to get to the cinema. Our restriction levels are pretty good so far with COVID. We are complying with COVID restrictions right now. But anyway, in the cinema, lovely captive audience, and there are wonderful Santos commercials saying what fabulous community people they are, creating all these jobs. Not that many jobs in South Australia, to be honest. And also all these wonderful development programs they run, Aboriginal education funding, Botanic Gardens funding, etc., etc. And as I've said before, make no mistake, they are legislated to do that. But it is a very convenient way for Santos to greenwash. It's sort of laundering their dirty money instead of a whitewash. They're greenwashing everything. So people think, oh, how great is Santos? Look at what they do. Well, it's not that great. Here we are. Just a little beautiful scenery around us. Beautiful sunny day today, which is not that great for my poor little iPhone. Capturing things. Nice to see a few of the TV cameras out today. Let's try and come the other side. There's almost more cameras than anything else here today, which is fabulous. Ben did mention as well in his speech that we gathered XR, Extinction Rebellion South Australia, that's who we are. We gathered in the Botanic Gardens prior to our wonderful disobedience activity, which was a great deal of fun. And we had a fabulous welcome to country there performed for us. Various other things went on, and that was great. But when it came to the fact that we wanted to have a medical professional talking for doctors against climate change, Botanic Gardens didn't want us to do that. We were not allowed to have a speaker speaking out about climate change in a very direct way actually speak within the Botanic Gardens. Now, how ironic is that? All this contradiction, constantly taking money from Santos, refusing doctors to speak about climate change, when it is in the annual reports, it's in their future planning, where the Botanic Gardens actually refer to climate change being a problem. So it's constant contradictions and irony. Just have a look at what's happening behind me. I'm being followed by a fabulous big sign. Fossil fuels cost the earth. Sorry if that was a bit fast whizzing around. I can hear the birds in the trees. Another little family, lovely family group here, having a great Father's Day out. We are walking around the outside of the Botanic Gardens. We are hoping to get them to realise their folly. We're moving around towards what's called the ginkgo gate, which has very beautiful metal gate, ginkgo leaves on. And here was also the site of a fabulous action that took place for Extinction Rebellion, a light projection on the walls during the...
Join the rebellion!
Our wonderful Marshall here. Join the rebellion. But yes, really good. Should look up some of the videos of the light projection action we did on the side of Botanic High School, new school in Adelaide. Yet more things being built on parkland, but never mind, that's another story. The Red Rebels here are gathering. Beautiful Red Rebels. Code Red, talking about Red Rebels. Haven't talked about Code Red yet. I'm sure that's a phrase everybody's picking up on at the moment. The IPCC, the International Panel of the Study on Climate Change, released 9th of August, and the chair of the United Nations said, and it was he that said the terms, this is code red for humanity. It is time, it is beyond time to act now, as all XR groups across the globe want action now. Beautiful weather today, and if I can swing round, you can see there the Botanic Gardens, where we are heading for a eulogy to mourn the death of the species that have occurred since Santos has been funding the Museum of Economic Complicity. Just a reminder, we're Extinction Rebellion South Australia. We're here to highlight the absolute irony, hypocrisy of the Botanic Gardens of South Australia being funded by Santos, and in particular money that was given for the Museum of Economic Complicity, sometimes called the Economic Botany, but you know, choose your name. And here comes our beautiful tree, and lovely Lena, who will be giving our eulogy by our blood money tree, and the procession is arriving. I said the beautiful, just show you a little bit of the ginkgo gate. It's beautiful. A little bit of distraction here. Isn't that beautiful? That's what Botanic Gardens are all about. The beauty of nature, rather than the desecration of the land. Poor trees already struggling under all the blood money. Strong breeze living up now. Lovely red rebels. And here's a message for dads on Father's Day. Our beautiful artistic rebel Sandy holding one of her wonderful signs. Hey Dad, Santos is destroying my future, our country with more mines. So why is it okay that Santos funds our gardens? And what is Code Red? Oh, Santos, a socially responsible corporate citizen. Well, I think I mentioned about that the other day. Funding community projects while destroying your kids' future. Well, as I pointed out, Santos is bound by legislation which says they have to give money for community projects. So it is not out of their corporate responsibility or their good heart. It is legislated under the Santos deed of, I always forget the other word, but the deed, 2007, look it up, easy enough to Google, it's in the SA Parliament's legislation register on the website. Doesn't give the details of the deed, but a little bit more Googling certainly comes up with that. And in 2007 there were press releases from Santos and the state government, Mike Rann, hailing this wonderful agreement. They don't actually say what Santos is benefiting from it, but they benefited a lot. They were able to expand their company and they're able to wash their dirty money, greenwash. Also, you might have heard recently that Santos CEO is a little cranky with the farmers interstate. the lock the gate farmers trying to stop Narrabri and such. I mean, how dare he be angry at farmers wanting to protect the land which they're using to produce food, and they want to protect their water so fracking doesn't pollute their water systems. How dare they get cranky?
Just take a moment, everyone, to think about who you're here for today. And bring that person into your mind's eye and into your heart. Today, we, Extinction Rebellion in South Australia, offer a eulogy, a speech and a ceremony in praise of plants and gardens, in praise of knowledge and science, here in front of the Hanson Institute for Science, the Botanic High School, where children are learning about science and many other things, and in praise of health and well-being that plants give our planet, all other species, and all of us. Today, we offer a eulogy as we mourn on cue the rapid loss of plants and their biodiversity due to accelerating global warming from rising carbon emissions and burning fossil fuels. Today we praise the health and well-being from plants, food, the health of our ecosystems, our own health and well-being, as we stand outside the Adelaide Botanic Garden's Garden of Health, established in 2011, but drawing on traditions of thousands and thousands of years. First Nations people who've known about plants and their benefits for thousands of years, and the rise of botanic gardens in the 16th and 17th century as what was then called physic gardens. Today, 80% of modern medicines still derive from plants. We cannot imagine a world without them. We will not have a world without them. We praise the Garden of Health with its Garden of Contemplation to the north and its Garden of Healing to the south, focusing on well-being, prevention of disease, treatment of illness, contemplation and reflection of this precious planet. This garden has 2,300 plus plants, 257 species that are about nourishing our bodies and minds and souls and healing them. And without plants, we cannot survive. And we're here this afternoon in front of the magnificent ginkgo gate, designed by Angela and Hussein Valamanesh, cast here in bronze. And the ginkgo is a symbol, an important symbol for today. It's been used for thousands of years in traditional medicine and now is being researched and incorporated into modern medicines for memory. And so here at the ginkgo gate of the Adelaide Botanic Gardens, we remember. We remember that just recently at the Light Cycles exhibition and inside the Botanic Gardens, that we did a projection about the danger of fossil fuels and Santos's role in threatening these gardens on the wall of the high school. Some of you came to that light cycle through this ginkgo gate, and I invite you to remember how that felt. We remember the toxic burden of emissions, ill health. 500 Australians died last year from extreme heat, and many, many, many thousands the world over. We now know from the research science that those growing emissions impact severe mental health, our physical health like asthma and heart attack rates, and even now some evidence emerging about the role of rising emissions in the epidemic of dementia, because we are forgetting. We are forgetting the science, and we are forgetting that we have the power to act on the science and to act now. At the ginkgo gate, we remember as we mourn the loss of biodiversity due to global warming from rising carbon emissions and burning fossil fuels. We remember as we mourn Santos as a major fossil fool, a climate vandal. Santos, we are still watching you. Australia has already warmed 1.44 degrees C, and if we keep going at this rate, we will be at 2 degrees C or more by 2050, catastrophic. Think about where 1.44 has already got us in this state. Think about those fires on Kangaroo Island. We will now stand together in silence for 2 minutes to mark 2 degrees C of global warming. If fossil fools continue their practice, their vandalism of business as usual, and if Santos in particular continues its business as usual model. today we mourn at winter's end, but spring is emerging, and spring offers renewable and renewal hope. Our hope and our stubborn optimism is an infinitely renewable resource. Spring's urgency invites us, urges us to seize our courage and lift our hearts, to act now together to limit global warming, to act now to end fossil fuel burning, and we call on the Botanic Gardens Adelaide to act now and end their partnership from fossil fuel companies like Santos. We know that the Botanic Gardens of Adelaide is in a unique position to show leadership and to act consistent with its charter, to protect and conserve the natural environment, to restore biodiversity, and to educate with their outstanding world-class science to improve the ability of all of us to live sustainably, renewably together. Thank you everybody for being here now. We'll walk back to the starting point and close out.
Thanks to Lena for her wonderful eulogy. It's been very emotional, a very meaningful action today, very peaceful, heartfelt, and as Lena said, optimism is boundless. So the Red Rebels and the banners will be walking back to Botanic Park, ending our action today. Ian, got a few words for us?
Sure.
I'd like to grab a good chatter. Hang on, let's move around. I'll move around this way.
Okay, no worries.
If you go over that way.
Over here? Okay.
Yeah, the sun's a problem.
All right.
So, what does this all mean for you? You're a father, you're a grandfather.
On this Father's Day, yeah, this is a special day. I would rather be with my family, but what we're doing here today is highlighting the toxic relationship between the Botanic Gardens and Santos. Santos are clearly trying to buy social licence, which they do not have, and they are doing that around the country. So they're sponsoring places like the Botanic Gardens, the Museum of Economic Botany, they sponsor the Adelaide Zoo, they sponsor community groups, they sponsor athletics. All of those things, all of those places are impacted by climate change. And as a father, that really worries me, and as a grandfather, it especially worries me. The outcome for our grandchildren's future is really dire. And we're calling on here, the Botanic Gardens today, to come out and state very clearly that they will not take funding from fossil fuels. They will not do this into the future. Now, Santos might have snuck their way in, but we need to see the Botanic Gardens making very clear statements that they will no longer do this. Fossil fuels are out. We do not want them seeking social licence for dollars. It's blood money.
It is. Thank you, Ian. And I also note that Kew Gardens in the UK, in England, which is also an internationally important botanical gardens, have stated that they will not use fossil fuel money. They will not take money from those companies. So if they can make a stand, I hope they're leading the way for others to make a stand too.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's great. Well, thank you, Izzy.
Thanks, Ian.
I might just go on and follow the troop.
Do your job.
We're processing back. Okay.
Okay, see ya. And there's everybody progressing back through, and I will wind up this live stream at these beautiful Botanic Gardens, and I'll just take you a little peek inside and then say farewell. So through these beautiful gates to the Garden of Health. And the birds going chirping happily in the trees. So thank you for tuning in, thank you for watching. Find out more XRSA website, and we'll see you the next time.